everyone, and welcome to this first video of the series of Introduction to 3D Studio Max. The first time you'll open 3D Studio Max, you'll be greeted with this welcome screen. It's basically a welcome screen. It shows you basics of 3D Studio Max. It shows you some tips and tricks on how to use the software. For now, we don't need it, so I'll go ahead and close it. You can reopen it anytime if you wish. If you go to help and you go to welcome screen, then you can turn it back on. So let me start with the interface. In the interface, you can see here number 1, the viewport. This is called your viewport. This is where you see your 3D objects or your 3D scenes. It's divided into 4 parts. This one is the perspective view. What is a perspective view? Let me do something simple and just to explain what this is. I just created a teapot. We'll know how to do that later, but let's start for now. I just created a teapot. The perspective view is, you can say it's your camera view. It's not a camera, but it's like a camera, where you can navigate around your object. You can move around it, pan, scroll, zoom, rotate, do whatever you want. This is your perspective view. On the other 3 views, you can notice here each one has its name. So the perspective, it's the perspective as we spoke about it. We have the front view. So this is the front view of your model. This is the top view of your model. So here you can see the model from top. Here you can see the model from the left side. What I'm doing now, I'm toggling between something called wireframe and the mesh view. We'll talk about this in a later stage. For now, just you need to understand the viewport. Okay, and what does each one mean? The next thing we need to look at is the main menu. The main menu here, you'll find file. In this one, you can open a new project. You can reset your project. You can open a project. You can open your recent projects if you have something that has been done before. You can save your project. You have a lot of stuff in here. So this is your main toolbar basically. It has all the settings that you're gonna use. It has animation settings. It has rendering settings. You can customize your 3D Studio Max from this bar. The second very important thing to know is the main toolbar menu. The main toolbar menu is divided into several parts. The first one is the create panel. What is the create panel? If you look at here, you will find this circle. This circle is geometry. In this panel, you use it to create objects. What kind of objects? It's separated here into categories. The first one is 3D objects. Here you can find something like a box. So if I click on box and I click in the viewport, drag, and then leave my button, push up and click, then I've created a box. Let me delete it. I'll press delete. That will delete my current model. Let me create a sphere. If I press and drag, I have created a sphere, and then I leave my mouse button, then I have a 3D sphere. That's the first one. So this menu is create. This one is geometry. Here you'll find a lot of other stuff which we'll not discuss currently. We'll discuss in the future. But here you can experiment with those. You can play with them. You can create a cylinder. You cancel when you're done. You can press right click so it cancels the order basically. And to delete this model, I need to press delete. The second one is something called shapes. What shapes is? It's 2D objects. For instance, if I need to create a circle, a 2D circle, I don't need a 3D cylinder, I just want a 2D circle. So I'll click this one and I'll click and drag. Now I have just a 2D line. So shapes are basically lines, it's not a 3D objects. These have very important roles when we're working in 3D, although they are 2D objects, but they have very important roles when we're working with 3D. So you can also experiment with those. You have to discover them, know what they are all about. The next one is lighting. So using this panel you can create lights. As we spoke before, to see your scene you need the light, and here we can create those lights. After that we go to the camera. In this section we can create cameras. It's like an actual camera. It's like having a professional camera in your hand. It has all settings, aperture, ISO. You can control all the settings of a normal camera using this one. The other three I'm not gonna go into right now, they're a little bit more advanced. However, let me go to the next one. So this is the create panel. It's very important to create objects. So to create any object you will have to go through this create panel. The next one is called modify. What modify is, when I create an object, I need to add a modification to that object. I will not live my life making boxes and spheres and cylinders. I need to modify them more. Let me give you a small example just to explain to you what this is, because this is a very important panel. So I'll start by creating a sphere. I made here, there is a shortcut that you can use to magnify this viewport and to bring it back. It's also very important and I use it all the time. This happens by pressing Alt and W together. So if I press Alt and W on any viewport I'm on, it grows to be full screen. And if I press it again, it goes back. Happens here for the front. If I need the front to be full screen, Alt W and Alt W back to go back to the same viewport. So I need to magnify this one to see, so that we could see better. So I want to add modification to the sphere. I don't want it to be just a sphere. So let me select it. So to add any modification to an object, I need to select that object. I'll go to modify. Here you can find the parameters of the sphere. For instance, radius now is 28. Let's make it 30. You see it's bigger. If I make it 10, it's smaller. That's basically the size of the sphere, the radius of the sphere. So I'll go back to 30. For instance, if I make this one 10, you will find that it's a very rough object. Unlike it was before when it was 30, it was a smoother object. If I make it 60, it will be even a smoother object. That's basically what the segments is. It's the number of detail, it's the details of the object. We'll explain this more very shortly. You have here a lot of settings. Hemisphere, if you want only half a circle, if you don't want the full circle. So if I go 0.5, you have a half sphere. If I go to 0, you have a full sphere. If I have 1, then you have nothing. It's completely cut. So that's number 1. Now that's not all the controls that we have. If you go to modifier list, there is a whole lot of settings. There is a huge menu that comes to you. At first this might look overwhelming, but it's very important, and just give it some time and you'll get used to it very easily. So I'll go into some of these stuff just to explain what is the modify panel. For instance, if I need to add some noise to the sphere, it's a very smooth sphere, right? However, I needed a noisy sphere. So I'll go here, I'll find a modifier called noise. I'll click this one. Now I have a layer above my sphere, which is the noise. What does this noise do? If I go to the strength of the noise, I'll make this 10. Then I go to the next one, make it 10, and make it 10. There is a slight change, but it's not that much. That's because of my scale is huge. The scale of the noise is very big. So I need to reduce the scale of the noise. So if I start reducing the scale of the noise, I'll find that my sphere became a very noisy object. I can make it smaller and it will be a destroyed mesh, which is in most cases you don't need. But that is what modifiers are. They're adding an additional layer of setting or a desired effect on the object, and you can control it through the modifier panel. So this noise is here. If I need to delete I made the noise. Now I need to delete it. How do I delete it? There is a delete button. If I click this one, the noise is gone. So now we're back to the sphere, the normal sphere that we had, the clean one, no noise. Let's take another modifier, for instance, something called stretch. If I go down, and if I find something called stretch, as what we had in the noise, each modifier has its own parameters, and this you'll understand this more when you start messing with them and playing with them and understanding which one does what. And most of the time the name explains what it does. So for instance, this one is stretch, so it's used to stretch my model. So if I need to stretch this ball, I'll press like this. See what happens? It stretch and squashes. So it gives you a nice, you can use this to get some very nice animations. If a ball is jumping, it needs to stretch and then come back, and when it falls, it's gonna squash, and then it's gonna, you got my point. So that is the modifiers panel. We'll go through this in more depth in the future, but for now that's just giving you the idea. The next menus are the next menu is hierarchy. I'm not gonna discuss this right now, it's a little bit advanced. Even motion panel, this one also is a little bit more advanced. Display, this one controls what you see in your viewport. So if I want to see the geometry that I have, if I want to hide all the geometry, so I click this one, so all the geometry that I have will be hidden. If I want to enable them back, I'll press geometry. If I have lights in my scene and I don't want to see all the lights, I'll press this one, so all the lights will hide. And as we said before, if I want to bring them back, I will deselect this one. So this one is basically hide by category. So whatever category I want to hide, I will click it. So if I click cameras, all the cameras will be hidden. If I deselect it, all the cameras will be visible. The last one is the utilities. It's a little bit advanced also for now. We're not gonna go through it we're gonna look at those in a future video. The next thing that we have to look for is this main toolbar. What this is undo. So if I made something and I want to undo, if I press now, and then it will go into the creation of the sphere itself. So if I move the sphere from here to here and I press undo, it will go back. If I press redo, it will go to the front. That's basically it. So I'll go back to undo. Now it's back in its place. This one is a link. This one links an object to another object. We'll discuss this further. Just to know, this one links an object to another object. This one, it unlinks it. We'll go to the next section. In the next section we have select object. Select object means I need to select an object as it says. After that we'll go to move. The move tool is a very important tool. If you look at your object, you'll find when you press the move button, you'll find 3 axes: the X, Y, and Z. If I move it through the X, it will move on this X axis. If I move it to the Y, it will move on the Y axis. If I click and move in the Z axis, it will move in the Z axis. If I wanted to move it in a 2 axis simultaneously, for instance, I wanted to move in the Y and in the Z at the same time, so I'll come in the middle. You'll find here a small square and it turns yellow when I stop in the middle. So if I click now and move my mouse, I can freely move it on 2 axes. If I go to the Z and the X, and I click and move, I can move into the X and Z axis together. Same as the XY. If I stay in the middle in the square and I move, it will move in the XY. So this is your axis. This is also very important. So you can access the move tool with a shortcut of W. The next tool that we're gonna discuss is rotate. If I need to rotate the sphere, I should press here, or with the shortcut E. So here you'll find also the same 3 axes: X, Y, and Z. So you can rotate it in the 3 axes. You don't see it much using a sphere, but we can demonstrate this better if we have a box. So if I have a box here, I created just a quick box. If I rotate around the Z axis, it's gonna rotate in the Z axis. If I rotate it in the X axis, it's gonna rotate in the X axis. If I rotate it in the Y axis, it's gonna rotate in the Y axis. The third most important tool is the scale, and scale can have a shortcut of R. The shortcut for scale is R. So either press here or you can press R. When you press scale, you'll have this gizmo that we can see. This is the scale one. So if I press and drag, it scales down. If I press and go up, it scales up. Quick recap: we have move, rotate, scale, select. Select goes with the shortcut of Q. So if I press Q, I can select my object. If I press W, that is move. If I press E, I'll go to rotate. If I press R, I'll go to scale. Those are the most important parts when you're manipulating an object. Now I need to know how to manipulate my viewport, how to rotate around an object, how to pan my viewport, how to zoom in and zoom out. It's very simple. So let me start by doing this. Press Alt and press the middle mouse button together and then drag. Now you can rotate around your object. So let's say this one again. I'll press Alt, keep pressing, press middle button on your mouse and start rotating. Now you can rotate around your object. Now I want to pan my camera. By panning means having this motion. So this comes by pressing only the middle button without Alt. So if I leave Alt, I just press the middle mouse button, I will start panning my camera. I can go left, I can go right. So to recap, Alt, middle mouse, I will rotate. Only middle mouse, I will pan my camera. I'll go to the left, right, up or down. The third tool is the zoom, which comes by using your mouse wheel. So if I push the mouse wheel forward, I will zoom in. If I push my mouse wheel back, I'll zoom out. Push in, push in, push out, push out. This is how to basically navigate your viewport. I'll recap it for the third time because that's very important, just for you to understand how to do it. Alt, middle mouse, keep pressing both and you can rotate around your object. Only middle mouse, you can pan around your object. Scroll up, zoom in, scroll down, move back. That's how to manipulate your viewport. For now, that will be the end of the first video. We'll continue and learn more techniques and more about 3 Studio Max in the next video. Now I would like to try what we have done. Try to create multiple objects. Try to create something that looks like something, maybe like a car, maybe a snowman. Open your imagination. Create a small model. Doesn't have to be any good. Just create something that looks like an object. Don't worry about details right now. You're not in that stage, but you will be there soon. So for now, please open your create menu. Create from those primitives. You can create some boxes, some cones, tubes, a pyramid, teapot. Experiment with them. Create something, move the objects in your scene. Try to build something that looks nice. Navigate around it. Get comfortable with the software. That's the most important part right now. And that's a very, very crucial part. I cannot emphasize how important is that. You have to get familiar with the tools and navigation. That will be the end of the first video. I'll see you in the next one. If you like this video, please hit the thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel for more videos and for more tips and tricks. Thank you very much for watching and see you in the next one.